In this video, we're talking about the Sony A7IV, all the rumored specs, everything that you need to know, and what this camera actually has to be successful. Let's get into it. Well, we're back again, and this time we're discussing the Sony A7IV and everything you need to know about it moving forward. When the A7 III came out, it took the world by storm. An absolute beast of a camera, and in my opinion, still the best value for money camera that you can buy. So Sony has a real opportunity here to capitalize on that momentum and really take over these next few years. It's no surprise that the mirrorless market is shrinking and it's becoming more competitive as different manufacturers compete with price point and technology. So this is really your chance, Sony, to blow us out of the water yet again. And it's really not going to take a heck of a lot, just maybe a few main key components that everybody is looking for. So recently we've seen some releases like the A9 II and the A7R4. And for me, the R4 is an incredible camera, but the A9 II, it remains a bit questionable, and people are having a bit of a hard time with it, saying that it's more of a refresh of the A9 I, and that's because they really didn't push the envelope. They didn't add a heck of a lot of things to blow people away, and I really hope this is different in the case of the A7 IV. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, my name's Stefan Malik and I do a lot of photography and filmmaking, news reviews and tutorials. So if you do enjoy this content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. But anyways, let's get in and find out what the differences have to be and what this camera really has to look like for me to, and everybody else really, to consider buying it. So although nothing's in stone yet, there are a lot of rumors and speculations starting to swirl around out there. So let's have a look at what we might be able to expect at this point. Now the first thing to note is that most likely this camera is coming next year, 2020. It has been a few years since the A7 III's come out now, and Sony does like to release cameras quite often, with the exception of the A7S series, which we're all waiting for. So here are some of the specs that are rumored for this camera. Let's go over them and see if a lot of them make any sense and if they're going to be enough for you to upgrade. So first, sensor size. And Sony's typically stuck to a 24 megapixel sensor when it comes to the A7 line. There are some rumors as well floating around of a new 30 megapixel sensor. I think 24 megapixels, for me anyway, is a great happy medium, and I'm pretty happy with the file sizes, what you can get out of it, and with more megapixels and more resolution comes more hardware in your computer that you need to edit, and more storage space. Most people just don't need more than 24 megapixels. And for those that do, we have the A7R III and IV, which are high resolution cameras. Next, we'll most likely see the A7 IV end up in a body similar to the A7R4 and A9 II bodies, which has several improvements including ergonomics, weather sealing, and an overall more efficient design. The A7 III isn't exactly known for its amazing IBIS system. It's not terrible, and it's definitely better than nothing. So in the A7 IV, hopefully we can expect a bit of an improvement on that. The autofocus in the A7 III is very good, and we can just expect it to be that much better in the A7 IV, taking more aspects perhaps from the A9 and putting it into a jack-of-all-trades camera. Also expect improvements from the already amazing eye autofocus, animal eye autofocus, and real-time tracking. Now when it comes to video, I think this is going to be the major make or break point for this camera to either be the best selling camera in the next year and years to come, or not so much. You probably know that the A7 III is already a very capable video camera, with just a few downsides for people really focused on video. For myself, and I think a lot of other video creators, I don't think 6K is necessary at this time. Save 6K for the A7S III and give us 4K 60. If Sony puts 4K 60 in this camera with 10-bit 422, I feel like this camera is going to be, once again, the one to beat. Let's move on to another cool feature that you can find in the A7R series, and that's pixel shift, the ability for your camera to take several pictures and basically stitch them together, creating one very large and detailed image. And I think this would be a bit weird for them to put in, although I'd love to see it, because it is one of the standout features in the R series. We'll have to see. Next, I'd be very surprised if this camera didn't have dual UHS 2 card slots, and that's an upgrade from just one on the A7 III, so this would of course just be a natural progression, especially if in fact we are getting things like 6K video and faster processing. There's other things that you'd expect, like the newest version of USB Type-C, and at minimum 10 frames per second shooting with great tracking. Now the A7 III's EVF is completely acceptable, but when you look at cameras like the A7R4 or the EOS R, it's apparent that it does need some work, so an upgrade in this department is very welcomed. Next, I see that the dream of a fully articulating screen on a Sony full frame is still alive, and yeah, we can dream, but I'm not holding my breath. Fingers crossed though, and if it does happen, it's going to be a game changer. And finally, when the heck does this thing come out? Well, it's rumored that it's going to be early 2020, and that's really just a few months away. So fingers crossed as well on that one. Here's to hoping. So let's recap, and I'll give you my hopes and dreams, my personal wish list for this camera, just for fun. Honestly, I'm still very happy with my A7 III, but if you were to throw it into the A7R4 body, perhaps, with some of the improvements in build and weather sealing, I'd be pretty happy. And while you're at it, Sony, throw in the EVF from the A7R4, and definitely throw in the 4K 60, and you can thank me later when this is the best-selling camera of 2020. And why stop there? Throw in a fully articulating screen to really seal the deal. So this really doesn't seem like too much to ask for, does it? Especially when we know all these things already exist from Sony and competitors, so put it all together. Anyways, aside from all my hopes and dreams, I'm actually really excited to see what Sony does decide to bring to the table here. But let me know if I'm dreaming. I want to know your guys' thoughts and feelings about this. Drop your questions and comments down below so I know what your expectations are, and let me know if I'm out to lunch by asking for these things. All I know is if I get them, or most of them, that's really the perfect camera for me. Well, let's wrap it up. I hope you liked this video. I hope you got something out of it, and if you enjoyed it, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And like I said, definitely drop your questions and comments down below. Love to chat with you guys and hear what you have to say. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you in the next one.